it requires this, I think I'd like to tell this story because sadly I thought it was true. When I went to work in the Obama administration in 2009, I thought, oh my goodness, this is great. I've been training my whole life. I have all these ideas, and that's very exciting. And surely people will be throwing flowers in my path, roses, and they'd be very excited for my participation and my ideas. And what you realize, and I think this was a thread running through Sam and Jonathan's comments, is these guys have their own lives. They go to lunch with their own friends. They have a whole social network, and you're kind of an outsider. And at some level, you don't look very different than an advocate for anything else, an advocate for, advocate for evidence, an advocate for subsidies for corn. And so it's really critical to recognize that as the starting point. And as Jonathan was emphasizing, nobody really wants you to come in their office and tell you what they need to do. The key thing is to listen to what they want to do. And in listening to some story, I was reminded uh, when the Department of Energy in the United States was considering rolling out about a whole bunch of policies out of the coming out of the Great Recession. One of them was the installation of smart meters. And smart meters, as many people in this room probably know, have this great feature that they can help run a more reliable grid. They can help consumers make better, more informed choices and things like that. And I said, "Oh, this is terrific. What are you planning to do for your evaluation to understand what all the benefits are? That might help you with future funding if you were able to articulate that." And they said, "Oh, that's great. You're interested in evaluation too. Uh, well, we're interested in evaluation, and our evaluation is going to be the number of smart meters installed." And so they just have like a completely different perspective than we do. So I think it's really important to start from that recognition that we live in a very different world. We have a different set of incentives, and we're thinking about problems in a very different way. I think Tim wanted me to talk a little bit about some of when this has worked well. And I think maybe the most recent example where this has worked well in my own experiences has been, it's a little bit embarrassing to talk about, but I left the Obama administration in 2010, kind of feeling a little defeated that we had failed to pass carbon pricing, and we've kind of failed to use markets to address pollution. And so one of the very first things I did is I went to try to restart my work in India. One thing led to another and ended up at the Minister of Environment and Forests office. And he was feeling around for new ideas. And I said, "Oh, well, you should do pollution pricing." And he goes, "That's a great idea. We should do that." And then that kind of set off on a path, which is now, I think, 14 or 15 years long, that ultimately led to 5 or 6 years ago launching a pilot for pollution pricing in the state of Gujarat. I think Anant is in the room, and he has been a partner in crime at every step. And that pilot we ran as an RCT, and it proved very successful. And it has taken the fancy of the Gujarati policymakers and the policymakers in other states. And as one thing has led to another, and it's now kind of led to increasing adoption, and we hope for much wider adoption than has happened already on pollution. And that all kind of started from trying to be responsive to what the policymakers were interested in, and then years of kind of, I don't know if Anant would describe it this way, but somewhat mind-numbing Tuesday morning phone calls and daily activities in India, trying to sort out the many, many steps from that high level idea to turning something into a reality. And another thing that I think has been very important in that has been to have continued presence on the ground. That is one version of that. Part of that has been cogeneration, which people have talked about, that is having people sit with the policymakers on a daily basis. But another part has been to kind of have the institutions that IGC has set up, JPAL has set up, and Epic India, which Anant was the initial director of, that provide a sense of and a reality of really being on the ground and participating in deep, meaningful ways, and are able to engage not just on the thing that might end up in a journal, but in a series of, like, let's call them adjacent issues that the policymakers are interested in, and all of which are trying to take very serious what their goals are, and deeply embed oneself in the context rather than in the intermediate micro textbook where one looks at pollution markets and sees that they must be a good idea. So why don't I pause there?